Welcome to the Aging Well Firefighter, the podcast for first responders, our families, and the communities we serve. Whether you're on the front lines or standing with us, I'm here to help you fight wisely and age bravely. Every year, around this time, we start throwing around a couple of familiar names: Grinch and Scrooge. And if you weren't already aware, those aren't exactly compliments. We use them to describe someone who's grumpy or stingy, maybe not feeling the holiday cheer. But here's something we often forget. By the end of each of their stories, these supposed villains, the Grinch and old Ebenezer Scrooge, were the most generous, joyful, community-minded characters in the whole tale. They started out isolated and bitter and, frankly, mean. But they ended up open-hearted and full of life. And they didn't just give gifts, they gave themselves back to the people around them. And as we close out another year, that's the kind of growth I find myself hoping for. For me, for the people I serve with, and for each of you. Their stories follow a similar arc, from stingy to enlightened to entirely reformed. But the changes they experienced didn't come easy. Before their transformations, each of them was lonely and guarded, tucked away from the world. Scrooge had built walls of gold coins. The Grinch had literal walls up on his own snowy mountain, and both had convinced themselves it was safer that way. Better not to care, better not to get hurt, better to keep to themselves. Sound familiar? I think in our line of work, firefighting and EMS, public service, we know a bit about that instinct. When you see too much hardship, it's easy to develop calloused skin. When the job demands constant alertness and composure, what we refer to as hyper-awareness, it's easy to let your empathy cool just so you can survive. That is how hearts, slowly and quietly, shrink. Not out of malice, but out of fatigue, out of self-protection. And if we're not careful, that's how we end up spending Christmas alone on a metaphorical mountaintop. Disconnected and a little bit cynical, but telling ourselves we're fine being that way. Deep down, though, we know it's not fine, at least not for long. Then comes the moment of clarity. For Scrooge, it comes when those visiting ghosts show him the brutal truth, the cost of his choices, the emptiness of his isolation. For the Grinch, it's when he steals all the trappings of Christmas, only to hear the people of Whoville still singing, joyful and grateful, together. And that sound breaks something open inside him. Those are moments that every one of us finds in our own way. The moments when we suddenly see we've drifted a little too far from the heart of why we serve in the first place. For Grinch and Scrooge, this is where the best part comes. When their hearts open up, they don't lose anything. They gain everything. Scrooge didn't end up broke. He ended up rich in community and connection and purpose. The Grinch didn't stay isolated. He came down from his lonely mountain and found friends. Both discovered that real generosity doesn't come from depriving yourself. It comes from abundance of spirit. They didn't go without. They went within. and found the joy of sharing. And that's something that we in the fire service and really all first responders need to remember. We are professionals at self-sacrifice. Long shifts, skipped meals, missed holidays. We'll give everything we've got to help someone else, and often that comes at the expense of our own well-being. But here's the truth. Generosity was never meant to mean going without. It's about sharing from what fills you up, not draining yourself dry. Remember that command to love your neighbor as yourself? Not love your neighbor instead of yourself, and not love your neighbor and neglect yourself. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Loving yourself, caring for your physical and emotional and spiritual health, isn't vanity and it's not selfishness. It's stewardship. Because when your own heart is full, you have something real to give. So, as this year closes, maybe take a quiet moment to ask, where has my heart grown a little hard? Where have I been giving so much that I've neglected to let anyone else give back to me? Because my friends, my brothers and sisters in the emergency services, we all have a bit of Scrooge and a bit of Grinch in us. Parts that need softening, parts that crave connection, and parts that need rest. And just like those villains turned heroes, the story doesn't end with regret, it ends with renewal. May you find your own moment to step down from your lonely mountain like the Grinch. Throw open the windows of isolation like Scrooge and join in the song and celebration of community. Not because you're obligated, but because that's what strengthens our hearts and our homes. It's how joy and generosity grow, one open moment at a time. So this Christmas, my wish for all of us is simple. Let's keep growing, keep giving, and keep allowing ourselves to receive. May our hearts, like the Grinch's, grow 3 sizes this season. From my family to yours, Merry Christmas. And may the coming year bring growth and connection and the courage to be open-hearted. As always, friends, fight wisely and age bravely.